Hi, I'm Yarlin,
And I'm Katie.
and this is Fae and Fables, a podcast hosted by two mental health counselors who take a psych deep dive into your favorite fantasy and romantasy books. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas.
I like the fact that we're on Crescent City right now,
I know.
insane to me. Insane.
Long
I
time
can't,
coming.
I know. We have been on this journey since June of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so close to the end to having all of Sarah J. Maas's books under our belt.
Yeah. And
Oh,
then we'll just be waiting for the next one. See
yeah,
how
we'll just,
it'll match up with the other books.
we'll just be like twiddling our thumbs and twitching in the corner, like waiting for October 27th or whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm so
But
excited.
yeah, same. But before we get to that, we have our disclaimers and our spoiler warnings and things. First and foremost, please note that this episode contains spoilers for the first book in the Crescent City series, House of Earth and Blood. Additionally, several potentially triggering, emotional, and or traumatic themes may be discussed which could be impactful or upsetting. Note that adult language and themes are used in the discussion of this book, so please take care of yourself and use caution if you're not in a place to engage with these conversations. Furthermore, this podcast is hosted by two licensed mental health counselors, but it should not be used to diagnose, treat, or address any individualized mental health concerns or conditions. The knowledge, opinions, and experiences we express related to mental health are our own and should not be applied as treatment. This is just for fun. So, if you feel like you need mental health treatment, please seek out your own individualized mental health care. Then our rankings, or our order of events, excuse me, I got so excited I just started listing them. We have our rankings and our ratings, where we discuss our chili pepper stars and where we would put it on our bookshelf. Our teehee moments, us getting Twitter pated and just obsessed with whatever the hell's going on. The counselor's couch, where we put the fantastical psychoanalysis to work and we meet it up with what's going on in the real world. Our red flag court, where we
Mm,
take turns offering up a case to the court and then we ask ourselves, is it a red flag? And we debate often, is it a red
yeah.
flag? Yeah, we always got some sort of, we're calculating, we're putting our minds to use here. And then last but not least is what is up in the realm. What are we reading? What's upcoming for the podcast, and where you can contact us. And that are our disclaimers and our events of the day.
Nice. So we're going to get into rankings and ratings. First, I'll give a intro to the story. So this book follows the story of Bryce Quinlan, a half human, half fae, who is known as a party girl and antiquities dealer. She and her best friend Danica met at university, and we just get to know Danica and her pack of devils, which are a shifter pack that she leads.
Mm-hmm.
When Danica and the pack are all murdered gruesomely, while they were getting killed, Bryce was out partying with her friends Fury and Juniper. And when she sees the aftermath, she goes after a Crystallos demon she finds at the scene. That night, she saves Micah Demitus.
I got to be honest with you, I don't know.
He is the archangel of Lunathian, and she starts the long, difficult road of trying to heal from the trauma after that night of losing all her friends.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 years later, Bryce is asked by Micah to hunt down Luna's horn, a fae relic with a fallen enslaved angel named Hunt Athalar. We love him.
Hottie.
Bryce and Hunt go on an investigation to find the horn, and along the way, they learn about the incredibly addictive drug called synth and Crystallos demons and Danica's role in everything that occurred that night 2 years ago. In the end, Micah tries to murder Bryce. We find out that Bryce is the horn herself, and she is the star-born heir to the Fae. Both Bryce and Hunt almost die, and Lunathian is almost destroyed. But Bryce makes the drop and claims a whole bunch of wild magic, owns her star-born Fae identity, and Hunt and Bryce are told by the Asteri to stay out of trouble, freeing Hunt from the Asterian enslavement as a way to entice them to lay low. The city is safe, as are Bryce and Hunt for now.
Dun dun dun. There's some like not so veiled threats that
Yeah.
the Asteria are like, so we hope you enjoy your very quiet, non-interfering life for the rest of your life. And Bryce and Hunt are like, yes,
They just
we
nod
will do
along.
that. Yeah, yeah. But I wouldn't feel very assured by that if the
Oh
Asteria said
yeah, they
that to me.
definitely left a lot to like wonder what is going to happen in the next book. So,
Yeah.
but it was an awesome first book.
I agree, and it was hilarious to me. This is the I think the third time I'm reading this. It's hilarious to watch Hunt and Bryce look for the horn, and
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh,
time
yeah.
Bryce is the horn. They're like,
Yeah.
why are the demons attacking near us? Like everywhere we go, a demon attacks.
I
And
wonder.
I wonder where the horn is. And poor Bryce is the horn.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, Danica getting shisty with her tattooing of the horn, by the way.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of hijinks.
Okay, so now we'll get into our star and chili pepper rating. Katie, you go first.
Okay. So, 5 stars. I'm a simp for everything that Sarah J. Moss does. And I gave it 2 chili peppers. It's not that spicy. It's not that spicy of a
No.
book. I wanted to see more. Frankly,
Yeah,
I this is her like adult fantasy, modern
I know.
fantasy book. But despite that, like despite the fact that there was not as much spice as I was hoping for, the stars were there. I thought the plot was great. I love how rich the lore is. I love the
Mm.
interactions between the characters. I even like I'm not one who's naturally attracted to modern fantasy, and like she just made this modern world somehow both really cool and fun to read about and really mystical. So I had a blast reading it. Would I have liked to see more chili pepper action? Yes, because here's the thing: Bryce hooks up with a couple people in like okay ways toward the beginning of the book, but like who we really want to see hooking up, Bryce and Hunt, they don't
Right.
they don't get into it in the way that I would have liked to see.
Yeah.
So I'm fingies crossed for their future because I need to see a Peppa if we're gonna keep assigning Peppas. And
That's
then
true.
yeah, and then shelf one for me. This is top tier for me. Um I think this is a really strong start to the Crescent City series, and I have enjoyed it. Every time I've read it, I've enjoyed it more and more. So hell
Hmm.
yeah. How about you, Yarlin?
I gave it 4 stars just
Hmm
because
hmm
I did feel like I did want a little bit more romance or just there was something missing.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
I really liked this book. There was just like I wish there was like a little bit more of something to make me like love it.
mm.
For it to be 5 stars. I gave it a 1 chili pepper. It really was not spicy at all, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
aside from a few words here and there, like it wasn't anything crazy. And I
hmm
have it on my second shelf.
Okay. All right. So because we've been on first shelf for the last several books, it's been first shelf, first shelf. Now
Yeah.
this one's taking a little demotion.
Yeah, it's still a great book. I think it's just I think I compare it a lot cuz it's like very similar obviously that modern fantasy to like that
Hmm
House of Devils series that I really love.
You love
Um
that series.
it is so good and I'm telling you you have to read it
Okay.
and
Okay.
you will see where it's like okay, Crescent City is good, but this one
House
is
of Devils. Okay.
like top tier.
Well, let's hope that my summer includes. I want my summer to have mostly reading, um,
Yeah.
a little bit of being out in real life, but mostly reading.
I
So let's hope
know.
I can get to it
Yeah,
because I want to.
okay.
Hell yeah. And that brings us, now that we've discussed how little spice there is in it, to our teehee moments where we just talk about like what has us kicking our little feeties,
Mhm.
what has us feeling a little stir, a little flutter. So Yarlin, do you want to start off with your collection?
My little collection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my first one, I don't know why I was into this character more than like the main characters. I love that
Oh,
like
Therian.
mermaid guy. You know what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean?
yeah. Yep.
Love if there could have been a little side quest there. I think
for Bryce or for us as readers?
the mermaid, I wanted him to like
Oh, you
drag
want
us
to see?
under. I don't know.
Oh,
Um
a little fanfic, mayhaps.
yes. And this, well, I'm not gonna say that spoiler, but either way, it reminded
Mm-hmm.
me of something that we read in a previous book.
Yes,
So in
yes.
page 403, the mayor's smile deepened. Careful, Bryce. I might decide I like you and bring you beneath.
Oh
So there's like
God.
the lore that with the mermaid men,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of bring down like their human brides and keep them
And air
captive.
bubbles. Yeah,
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 they
yeah.
keep them captive. So I love that vibe. If there could be
Mm.
something explored with that, I think that would be a really cool book. I'm sure there's one
Might
out
get
there.
into that. Might get into
Yeah.
that. I love how flirtatious Therian is. Like he is so quick with it. He's so quick witted, and
Yeah. I didn't
I
remember
really
his
like it.
name, but I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I'm a kind of into him. I
Hmm.
like Ther. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Hunt, like
Oh
I
yeah.
love Hunt so much. But and Therian, I like how flirty he is, and I
Yes.
also like that toward the end when they catch Hunt fucking with the synth and
Hmm.
with Victoria and Justinian, I think. He's kind of protective of Bryce at the same time. Like he's a good merman. He's a good
Yeah.
male, and at the same time, he's so flirtatious and he's like quick with the little
I
I'd
know.
get
I
into
do like
that.
that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to Therian. We enjoy you.
Yeah. So he was my first tee moment. And
Mm.
then in page 410, his face was flushed and his eyes fucking soulless. His black eyes glittered wholly fixed on her face. Like he was thinking of touching her, tasting her. So that
Hmm.
was like Bryce and
Mm.
Hunt. A
I love a
little.
good like a his eyes darkened moment.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he just went feral a little bit. I like
Yeah,
that.
you know what's interesting about this book is
Mm.
their cursing. I
Mm-mm.
don't understand, you know? It's like the soulless and then there's this
Mhm.
other one that I'm just like, what does that
Well, it's all their gods. It's like burning fucking soulless is I think the sun god, and then it's like Erd and
Erd, yeah, I was
Chthona.
like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Very
Yeah, those are
interesting.
it's so interesting. I feel
But
like
it's not
um
explained.
yeah, I think so this is something that I caught more this time than I had the previous couple of times. They have little bits of information about the gods
Yeah,
in interspersed in the lore, but it's never taught. Like it doesn't explain the pantheon of the gods. Like they never have
right.
a full explanation, but she'll just throw in like like Luna depicted this way, blah blah blah. And if you're not paying attention, it kind of just seems like throwaway information, and to me it was throwaway information.
Mm,
This time I'm trying to lock in because
yeah.
I'm trying to, but I know more now about the gods the third time around than I don't think I was like
Yeah.
blah 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 whatever. But
Yeah.
even well, I'm in the middle of House of Sky and Breath right now for
Mhm.
this podcast. So I have
Yeah.
thoughts that I can't share, but that we
Yeah.
will that we could talk about. But I it's interesting seeing the swearing conventions of fantasy books. Even like when it's
Yeah.
like, oh, the gods damned, blah 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 blah. Like
Yeah.
anytime there's a pantheon.
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting, and I'm sure
Mhm.
we'll get maybe more information and more connection later.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
love that idea of the description. And then my last one is page 782. We have some unfinished business, Quinlan. I've been hot and bothered for you for a long time now.
Ugh, hell yeah.
That is as
That's
spicy
what
as
you
it
got?
got, you know?
Okay. Okay. You're like that's the crop. That's what we got. I also love when he calls her Quinlan. I
Oh,
like
yeah. It's
that's a
nice.
little or sweetheart. Like I like that. I like that he starts calling her sweetheart and it's like derogatory, but then it somehow becomes sweet. I do
Yeah.
enjoy that. So
Yeah. It's cute.
well, honestly, given how little spice there was in this book, I feel like that's a nice little crop. Like, well
Yeah, because
done.
there, like, even looking at yours, like, there's little, like, those certain little
Mhm.
things, but I'm like, It's not like enough to make it a teehee. Like
It's not.
I didn't
You need
go
to get
too
me going.
crazy.
Yeah. Okay, well, I do, as always, have a nice little crop. I'm not going to share all of them. I'm just hungry for a teehee. I like to
Yeah.
teehee. So, but I'll share a couple of them. Um, on page 482, Hunt kind of blurts this out. He says, "Your ass is perfect." The word slipped out. He refrained from commenting on just how much he liked other parts of her too, how much he wanted to worship them, starting with that ass of hers.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
Oh, you want to worship? You want to worship my body? Okay,
Oh
like
yeah.
I'll get into that. Um this one's a little bit more emotional, a little less like sexy and more heartfelt. But on 556, it says, Bryce says, "You're my friend who watches trashy TV with me and puts up with my shit. You're the person I don't need to explain myself to, not when it matters. You see everything I am and you don't run away from it." I thought that
Cute.
was really cute. I just like that got me Twitter pated in a different way, you know?
Yeah, that is cute.
Um, page 558, Hunt goes to confront Amelie, who's been like fucking with Bryce, and this is like
Mm-hmm.
alpha hole, alpha male, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. He goes to Amelie, he says, "You don't speak to her, you don't go near her, you don't even fucking think about her again." He sent enough of his lightning through his touch that he knew the pain lashed through her body, and Amelie choked. "Do you understand me?" I just love
I love that moment. For
I love
real.
like just the protectiveness, the
Yeah.
like, don't you fucking think about her
Yeah, because
again.
she was just putting up with so much bullying. That's what I thought of. And I'm like, that's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, the thing, and it feels to me similar, like when we were, well, I don't want to reference Akatar. There was a character in Akatar who received a lot of bullying in my mind. They were the person that I reviewed in a couple of the books, and this reminded me of that. It's like she's constantly putting up with being like
Mm-hmm.
just put down, called names, fucked with. And I think Hunt was a part of that crew for a
Right,
while.
right.
And so to see him like realize that she's a badass bitch and like deserves protecting,
Mm,
I get with that.
I
I'm
like
I'm
that.
I'm with that. So on it's 592 and 593, there's this little pocket where Bryce and Hunt are getting frisky on a couch. Now there's they don't do all of it. They don't do everything, but they do
Yeah,
some things.
yeah.
And Hunt is saying some shit, and I like what he's saying. So I'm just going to give you a sampling of a few of his comments from that time because wowie was I into it. He says, "I am going to fuck you until you can't remember your goddamn name." Okay. that's
Let's see.
that's quite a promise. That's quite a
Yeah.
promise that you're gonna have to follow through with that. Then he says, "I have plans for this beautiful ass, Bryce. Filthy, filthy plans." Again, you're talking a big game. I'm gonna need you to roll up. I'm gonna need you to do something about it. You know.
Mm.
And then the last one is he just says, "Come for me, sweetheart," and he does it in his like sexy way, and I really enjoyed that. That whole scene was a teehee,
Yeah,
but
it was. I
I
do
did
really
like,
like Hunt. He's like top tier.
yeah, he's just, I love the wings. He like always
Hmm.
protects her with his wings and stuff. I get into that, so I liked it.
Yeah. So in this
Um,
book, they're not called bad boys, but what are they
mm,
called? Like, what is the
I don't know what
community call
the
them?
Do you know what? I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know what I don't know if there's a cute name because
Well, they're like
Hunt,
angels, right?
I mean, yeah, it's the like Malakim is the technical name, but
Mm.
like I don't know if the fandom has a name because really, and I'm really the only good Malakim right now is Hunt, maybe Isaiah. There's like but there's not like with the Bat Boys, it's like they're all
Uh-huh.
romantic interests.
True.
Right now it's just Hunt. So
Oh,
I don't know.
okay.
But maybe we'll
Gotcha.
have to search the internet. We'll have to do some reconnaissance and see if there's a
Yeah.
nickname.
Okay. Yeah, because I
But
haven't read the other two books, so I'll see what, who
I
comes
know
up in
I'm
those.
like, I gotta shut up right now. Da-na-na.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't say nothing right now. So but I mean that when I say like, even knowing the other two books, I don't think there's a QC nickname for them from
Yeah.
the
I think there's a lot
movie.
of people who haven't read Crescent City.
Yes, I for some reason I feel like Crescent City is the least read of them, and I
It's just
wonder
so
if
big,
part of that,
big,
that's what I'm saying. They're big books, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of world building. So I think people like
Mm,
get kind of,
put off by it.
yeah, I don't know if put off, like overwhelmed, or they kind of get into it and they're like, there's so many things happening.
It's true.
Um, so I do have one more that I want to share with you. And it's on page 782. And Bryce is having dirty thoughts. And as with most of the Fae, angel, veneer people everywhere, when a woman is turned on, the scent,
Yeah, I thought that
it's
was really interesting. Like just
I
immediately
happen
the
to like
scent.
that. I happen to like that dynamic of like, because it keeps people more honest. Like,
True.
when it's like a slow burn or whatever, and the girl's obviously like super into him or whatever, but she's like, no, I hate you, and he
Oh my
believes
gosh, that's
her
so
because it's
annoying.
blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah. I'm just like, I don't care about all this like miscommunicating BS. So
Right,
I
yeah.
like the scent dynamic because it's just like, yeah, you could be like, no, I'm not into you, but like, if you're
Your
too
body
turned
is,
on,
yeah.
yeah, you're giving yourself away. And Bryce is giving herself away because she's having thoughts, and we everyone in the room could smell that. And it says Hunt's eyes turned near feral, as if he could read those thoughts on her face, in her scent. We have some unfinished business, Quinlan, he said,
Yeah.
voice roughening.
I like the unfinished business.
I do, but here's the thing: you're making a lot of threats. You're making a lot of threats, and I'm gonna
That's
need
true.
you. I'm gonna need you to demonstrate that what you're saying is what you can make happen in
Mm.
the real world. So, those were my teehees. I had a couple others, but I feel like those were the cream of the crop.
You had some good ones. You had some good ones,
Thank
I
you,
will
thank
say.
you. I I'm like a hound on a scent. That's what I have a
That's
scent
true.
for.
That's
Teehee
true.
moments. I
Maybe
could
I look
smell
for just like the bigger ones where I'm like, oh my gosh, this one's like,
it.
but I wasn't oh my goshing too much in this one. So,
No, and I don't think there was either. Like, there's some like key moments, but I don't
yeah.
think like we talk about, we get these breadcrumbs and we need the feast. We haven't had the feast yet. We had like
Yeah.
breadcrumbs, we had a snack with that couch scene. It's
Mhm.
time. I need a good like 8-pager
Oh
like
yeah.
like to
Let's see.
show me
Let's
some
see
stuff.
what the
Show me some
second book
stuff.
has.
Let us see. And I know nothing. So I
Okay.
don't know anything about that.
Well, now we'll get into our counselor's couch. So, at the
Mm.
counselor's couch, we connect the fantastical with the practical. We each choose a character and analyze their psychology, making recommendations as their fictional counselor along the way. We then take what's going on in their world and bring it into ours so that you can walk away with some therapist approved psych insights.
Woo!
So my character was Bryce. So a little
Mm.
bit about kind of like her analysis. She's a complex, resilient protagonist who struggles to balance grief, identity, and personal strength. At first, Bryce appears carefree and superficial, enjoying parties and avoiding emotional vulnerability. However, after the tragic loss of her closest friends, her character develops into someone deeply loyal, determined, and emotionally strong. Bryce experienced a denial of her true family and has more found family or friends. As we know, like the king kind of like
Mm.
rejects her, and even with her brother, like it was like never really said that that was, or like they never say that they're actually siblings.
Mm,
Um, More like cousins or something. So there was just like a really big like disconnection there.
mm,
In page 155, this is like an example of that, uh, their family dynamic. That girl, Bryce was always that girl or the girl to their father. Rune hadn't heard the male speak her name in 12 years.
mm,
So, Bryce's journey throughout the novel reveals her ability to survive immense pain while still protecting the people she loves. She constantly challenges the expectations placed on her, especially as a half Fae woman who often feels underestimated by society. So, like I mentioned earlier, like she deals with a lot of bullying from
yeah.
her peers or people around her. She experiences many hateful remarks by members of her society, including half breed, which is like just
Yeah.
horrible. I mean, it reminds me of like Harry Potter, where it's like, half
Mm,
blood. And so it's like
yeah.
really derogatory. She also was constantly assumed to be something like someone selling her body. I noticed that a lot where I was
Hmm.
like, why does everyone assume that she's selling her body or like making these comments? It's like weird. Um,
I think it's interesting to see how the like humans and half fae, half humans, because they talk a little bit about how like and half fae, half humans are used for sex work in this
yeah,
society.
yeah,
So it's like this societal expectation that because she's half fae, half human, that she will be a sex worker. Um,
right.
and I love that she uses that to her own advantage sometimes. I just thought she was really savvy, and she never put down other half fae, half humans for doing sex work, which I also thought was very classy.
Yeah, so she was kind of doing her own thing, but I was very annoyed that that was a thing
Oh, and I
people.
think, yeah, I think she was too. She's like,
Yeah,
why you make all these assumptions about me and you don't know anything about me. You don't, and not that I think in her eyes, not that there's anything wrong with sex work, but it's like, don't make an assumption about me based on my body and based on my identities as a half
yeah,
fae, half human.
yeah. So that wasn't great to read
Hmm.
about. She does use a lot of humor and, her confidence to mask deep insecurities, but those qualities also make her relatable and human. I think that's
Hmm.
what's really cool about Crescent City and like kind of that modern, like you can relate to it
Mm,
a little bit more. So I did
yeah.
really like that. I've started to like the modern fantasies more. So in page 47, Connor wouldn't tolerate the sneezing, the whispering, neither would Danica. Bryce had witnessed both of them rip into stupid assholes whose hiss slurs at her or who mistook her for one of the many half veneer females who scraped a living in the meat market by selling their bodies. So even like her friends
Mm,
also witnessed that happening to her and would help stand up for her. So I thought that was really nice. As we saw Hunt also do that too. Um,
yeah.
in page 278, easier not to let herself enjoy life, easier to keep everyone at arm's length. So when I
Mm,
read this quote, it was really, a really interesting way to see where she was at mentally after
mm.
her friends died, um, or they were murdered. So it was, now she is kind of like having that avoidant connection with people and not wanting to get hurt again, but then that leads you to be in a place where you're trying to figure everything out on your own and no one can be
It's
there to help you.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch her because she naturally, I think, wants to connect and she's a very loyal person. And so
Mhm.
she's like, I'm keeping everyone's at arm's length, but she almost can't help it. Like she purchases Syrinx
Yeah.
and also purchases freedom for Lehaba. Like she is someone who wants to be cold and unfeeling and not connected
Yeah.
because she's hurt. But she like she can't seem to make it happen. She's constantly sort of looking out for people in a way that's she's trying to mask it, and I don't think she really can do it in the long run.
Yeah, and like you said, like, I think one of her most important traits is her compassion. Despite her
Mm.
trauma, she refuses to become cold or cruel, showing empathy both towards her friends and outsiders. And then by the end of the book, she kind of transforms into someone who, instead of running away from her responsibility,
Mm.
she more goes towards into being a courageous hero, willing to sacrifice herself for others. So I loved seeing her character arc in this
Mm.
book, because I can only imagine you lose all your friends, and then you have like a difficult relationship like with her mom, and it's like it's hard to
Mm.
really know where to go from there. So she was definitely lost for a bit. So I liked how Hunt was able to
Mm.
be there to support her.
Yeah.
So I
And I
like
think
that.
too, like, of the people that she tries to keep at arm's length, I think she does actually keep her mother at arm's length, which
Mhm.
her mom is not always an easy person to
Yeah,
field a
she's a
call
lot.
from. She's a lot. She's opinionated, which so isn't Bryce. Like, they're very
Yeah.
similar in a lot of ways, but
Mhm.
um, it- I think the one relationship you can see where she really puts that distance, one out of protectiveness, but two, just a desire not to have to field all the questions and the concerns, is
Yeah.
her mother and her stepdad Randall.
Mhm.
But she, like you said, like, naturally compassionate and protective and loyal, so it all comes out in the end. Like, she ends up kind of making connections anyway.
Yeah, so I thought that was she was a really good character to analyze. For
Mm.
her treatment plan, some of the things that I would focus on with her, so she presents symptoms of complicated grief, survivor's guilt. She has a lot of like guilt related to being the only one to survive from her whole friend group. Trauma related anxiety, emotional avoidance, as we've seen, and difficulty trusting others following the violent loss of her close friends. And she just has exposure to repeated traumatic events like with the demons and like the stuff, so there's
Mm.
just lots of things happening. So we would process the grief and trauma, try to identify and express those emotions connected to the loss and trauma, trying to reduce some of the avoidance behaviors related to painful memories, and develop healthy coping strategies for managing her triggers and intrusive thoughts. Then we would improve her emotion regulation. So, increasing awareness of her emotional responses beneath the humor and defensiveness. So, that cannot be her go to.
Mm.
And building skills to manage her anger, anxiety, and impulsive reactions. Continuing to practice self compassion and emotional vulnerability, and then reinforcing her identity and self-worth. She like we can explore her struggles with her identity as a half fae woman, challenge the beliefs of like being less than or unworthy, continue to build her confidence and her strengths, resilience, and leadership abilities. And as we see in the end of the book, Bryce gains some internal strength and confidence now with her starborn powers and being reunited with Hunt slash saving Crescent City. So we'll continue to look at how her growth uh, happens in the next two books.
Mm. Yes. I think it's really interesting too. It's She kind of always knows that she's a power player. Like, she's very smart. She's got a little bit of that, like, calculating, that quiet
Mm-hmm.
calculating that we see SJM. There's always a character who's
That's
quietly
true.
calculating, and
Yeah.
she's very smart, and she quietly sort of understands that she's got all this on lock. And
Mm-hmm.
I think with everyone realizing that she's the Horn and coming into her starborn powers, now the society knows that she's a power player. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, you have
Yeah.
been underestimating this half fae, half human person," and for the first time, the world is seeing her for the power that she has, rather than just this, like, "Oh, are you a sex worker?" Like,
Like a
all
party
these derogatory
girl.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, party girl, sex worker, derogatory, whatever. They're now
Mm-hmm.
going, "Oh, we've got this person's got some power." And I wonder what she'll do with it. I wonder
Yeah. I
how that'll
wonder.
all happen. Mm.
Let's see.
We will see.
And then for like the real world application of some of her character things, a lot of it I noticed is more like grief and coping, which we kind of see
Mm.
in the counseling space a lot. So she refuses to get help with processing her grief and feels very alone after the loss of most of her friends. In page 224, Danica had died and she was alone, and Bryce couldn't breathe. She'd refused to go to therapy. Her mother had set up appointment after appointment for the first year, and Bryce had bailed on all of them. She bought an aromatherapy diffuser, had read up on breathing techniques, and that had been that. She knew she should have gone. Therapy helps so many people. So I think like right there, like, immediately yeah, therapy was brought up in the
Yeah.
book, and I think
Mhm.
that is something that she needed, you know.
And me and you are like reading that going, well, no shit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think this is a great example, though, of the fact that, like, if you're going, unless you're mandated to treatment, which is a whole other thing,
Mhm.
um, for folks who really could benefit from therapy, no one can make you go. No one can make you, even if you do go, but you're kind of determined to not say anything or not share anything or not get vulnerable. Like, even we as clinicians can't force you to talk about anything. Um,
Mhm.
so there's a recognition that there's a certain level of readiness that you have to have for engaging with counseling. And that's important to understand about yourself, that it's like, okay, if I'm going to spend the time and the effort and the money to go to therapy, how can I make this as rich an experience as possible? How can I give myself the opportunity to really invest in this? And I think this is what we see with Bryce. She's not ready, and she doesn't want to, and it's
Yeah.
um I want her to, and I think she would benefit a lot from it, and she knows it. But I think, as a real world application, like, if you're going to approach therapy, like, do it. Really do it, because that's how you're going to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and I sometimes I feel like too, it's hard to know when you're ready. It's more like
Mm.
kind of taking that big step and going for the first session, see how
Oh
it
yeah.
feels. If it's something that you're able to, because it's going to be uncomfortable as therapy is,
Mhm.
but it's something that you do have to try out and not just avoid,
Mhm.
especially when you go through grief and loss and things like that. So yeah, so I liked how it
Mhm.
was mentioned in the book, and I'm sure there was a lot of no-show fees for that year.
I'm
Um,
sure she got a lot of bills
yeah.
for the
Yeah,
no
always show
shows.
up to your appointments, or like,
Yeah.
reschedule with appropriate timing.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Cuz here's the thing, and I don't know if a lot of people understand this. For a lot of like, a lot of therapists are paid it's fee for service, meaning
yeah.
we only get paid if you show up.
Yeah.
So, if I know that it's, and I've been on the client side too, where I've forgotten an appointment, and it's like, crap, like, it's a
I
bad day because
know.
I'm getting charged anyway, and all this stuff. And it's folks are not salaried. So
Mhm.
making a living can be a challenge if you're only paid if the other person shows up.
Yeah, so that was
So
that.
Bryce, roll
Yeah.
up to therapy.
Get there and you'll be good. And then page 486, I will never talk to her again. I think people expect me to be over it by now, but I can't. Anytime I get anywhere close to the truth of my new reality, I want to space out again, to not have to be me. I can't fucking dance anymore because it reminds me of her, of all the dancing we did together in clubs and or on the streets or in our apartment or dorm. I won't let myself dance anymore. So something that she enjoyed, as a way to like let go and express herself, is something that she is torturing herself to not enjoy anymore
Mhm.
because she's not processing her grief. So,
Mhm.
and I think even that of like, people expect me to be over it by now. So everyone processes their grief differently and in different timing. So there's
Yeah.
also that societal expectation or idea of well, it was a year ago, it was 2 years ago, you should be kind of moved on by now. But
Hmm.
everyone's different. So I feel like watching Bryce struggle throughout this book shows how difficult it is to manage grief, especially alone. So, in the real world, I think it's important to get professional help or lean on your support systems while you go through that grief. It shouldn't be something that you tackle on alone.
Mm. I love that you bring this up and made it the central part of your analysis because it is such a part of Bryce and it's such a part of what everybody's walking around with too.
Yeah,
And I like that you highlight this, like, grief doesn't sort of end. It's not this thing where it's like, and
right.
it has been a year and now we move on. Um,
Yeah,
for some folks, it sticks with you for maybe throughout your
forever in a
life.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and it's not to say you'll never be happy again, but you might you might still feel a twinge of grief, even if you
hmm,
haven't thought about the person for 6 months or a year. It might
yeah,
come up again, or you might think about them briefly every day.
yeah,
Helping people understand that there's not one right way and there's not like a
hmm.
timeline of when you're supposed to be over this.
Right. Yeah. I think, when you lose someone or a pet, like that kind of
Mm.
stays with you. It just how you manage those emotions in a healthy way is how you kind of continue because you're not going to forget about them. So,
Yeah. And I also like the fact that, like, Bryce did try to, like, she looked up diffusers and breathing
yeah,
techniques. Like, those are coping skills. And
they're
if they were
good.
working for you, like if she was like, I did my
Hmm.
breathing techniques and I felt so much better. And now I can walk like through my worlds with some level of comfort. If that was the message, I think it would be different. If you find that you're doing coping skills, you're like Googling coping skills and it's not working totally,
Yeah.
being okay with getting more support or doing things that are going to sort of build scaffold out those coping
Yeah.
skills.
Because I'm sure they were helpful, but she definitely needed more. More
Yeah.
of the grief processing. Coping skills are different than that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Mint diffusers are not gonna fix your problems. I'm so sorry to for most people. I haven't met
yeah.
a person yet who could fix their problems with a mint diffuser.
Yeah.
But if you're out there, shout out, comment, sound off. So, well, thank you so much, Yarlin, for
Thank
hosting us on
you.
your counselor's couch.
Thanks
We
for
have,
coming today.
oh, but of course. And now we will move to our therapy space where I have my client, Hunt Athalar.
Mm,
And let me tell you what, he's got a lot. He's got a
he
lot going on.
does.
He's got 200 years, over 200 years worth of stuff
Yeah.
going on. Yeah, poor guy. So
Every
first
time I read his things, I'm like, oh my gosh, Katie is gonna have so much.
a field day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It honestly, because here's the thing about Fae and veneer lifespans. Think of like the amount of trauma that could potentially be packed into just a regular human lifespan,
Mm,
and then expand that out to 200 years. Oh, and by the way, so much of that is spent in enslavement. Like, almost, he had, I think, 23 or 28 years living as just a human in the world. No, well,
yeah.
a Malachim in the world. And then was enslaved and has
Yeah.
spent the ensuing 200 enslaved to other people. So,
Yeah. And like killing other people.
yeah. Oh, the trauma, the
Yeah.
trauma
Poor
runs
guy.
deep with this one. So we're gonna get into it. We're gonna analyze, and then we're gonna get some takeaways for the real world here. So, as I mentioned, Hunt is 220, I think, 8 years old, over 200 years old, and most of his lifespan has been spent in enslavement. Even when he was technically free, the nature of his power and his identity as an angel marked him for military service under the Asteri and the Archangels. Hunt has the power of lightning. He can make lightning sort of skitter anywhere along his body, and he can strike others with lightning. And the Asteri have a lot of powers, but lightning's not one of them.
Mm.
So the
He's giving Thor vibes. I'm into
I
it.
mean, I mean,
I
I'm not
love
gonna.
Thor.
Okay, well, okay, I'm gonna sky and breath. Oh no, you and I are gonna chat after this because I have a little. I think you've gotten to the part that I'm thinking about,
Okay.
and we'll talk about
Okay.
it. But as a result of this system, he has experienced trauma after trauma after trauma throughout his life. Like heart-rending, soul-crushing traumas at several points. One being the violent death of his mother. His mother worked for the rich of Pangera, and she was murdered for some money that she had been saving up to sort of buy her freedom, and Hunt had been sending her money from his work as a soldier. He has his battle related traumas during his time as a quote unquote free soldier. The loss of Shahar, who Shahar is the archangel that Hunt loved with his whole soul and being, who he followed into battle. And she was murdered by her twin sister Sandriel, and Sandriel now rules Pangera. So he's been grieving the loss of Shahar. And then after Shahar died and the fallen angels were defeated by the Asteri, he was captured and tortured and enslaved at the hands of Sandriel, her twin sister. And he endured torture for like, I think it was close to 200 years.
Mm.
And then Micah Domitus, who is the one who rules over Lunathian, bought him, which is traumatic, and then forced him to perpetuate murders to free himself from enslavement. Wowie wowie. What does
Yeah.
one do?
Yeah. Where do you start with him? That's crazy. He has
I
a
have a
lot.
good game face as a clinician. Like, I've heard a lot.
Yeah.
And there's not much that surprises me anymore.
Yeah.
And if Hunt was like, so here's the tale, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'd be like making calculations in my head about where, as you said, where do we start? And this is all what happens before the start of this book, which also includes a lot of violence and trauma. So, because of all of this, this leads him to have very little sense of who he is as a person outside of the atrocities that he's experienced at the hands of other people. And he really has no one to care about his well-being when this story starts. And that's compounded by the fact that he doesn't have anybody like him to model himself after. He's the umbra mortis. He's
Mm-hmm.
the blade in the night, and nobody wants to get close to him, and he doesn't really know how to get close to other people. And so there's a few quotes I'm going to pull. Page 174. Even among the
Frail?
frail, it was probably angels or something. Even among the angels in the Fae, I'm going to go with that. Page 174 of the book.
Okay.
No one bore any lightning. He knew because he'd look. Desperate in his youth for anyone who might teach him how to control it, he'd had to teach himself in the end. So even from the start, before the traumas, his
Yeah.
powers are such that he has no one to look up to.
Yeah, that's
Then
hard too.
right? Like,
Mm.
there's no roadmap for you. You have to forge your own path. And then on page 685, he says, even if I hadn't rebelled, I'd wind up in a sugar-coated version of my life now, because I'm still a legionary being used for my so-called gift. Just now officially a slave, rather than being forced into service by a lack of other options. Then on 688, the fucking asshole had never planned to honor his bargain. This is Micah. If he'd solved the case, Micah would have killed them both. He'd been played by like a fucking fool. So you could see here that he understands his position, that he's being manipulated, and that he doesn't have any way of, like, there's no one like him to look up to try to figure out how to be himself.
Mm-hmm.
So in light of all of this, his way of enduring these terrible traumas is to dissociate. It's to lose sense of himself, to help protect his psyche. So on page 136, Hunt shoved it down, the roaring, the trembling, the stillness, shoved it down and down and down until it was just another wave in the black roiling pit inside himself. Page 491. Every shift of his body as he donned his battle suit quieted his mind, pulling him farther and farther from himself. Page 574. Hunt now took steadying, bracing breaths, plunged down into himself, into that place where he wrote out everything that had been done to him, every task he'd been assigned, every life he'd been ordered to take. And then finally, on 756, Hunt braced himself, settling into that place that had seen him through battles and years in dungeons and Sandriel's arena. So not only is he not given the opportunity to figure out who he is, his way of coping is to pull farther from himself
Mhm.
and to go into this like nothing space.
Yeah, and I feel like that is what that Umbra Mortis kind of like
Mm-hmm.
persona is, where he kind of gets into that character and it really removes any type of personality that he has. And I remember even in the book, I think he, like, Bryce is in the apartment and he comes back in.
Mm-hmm.
He has like the helmet on because even like I think the visualization too of like he puts on the helmet and he becomes this death character,
Yeah.
and he has no voice. He just like is like a machine. So I thought that was
Yes.
a really impactful way to envision him of like when he was walking in the apartment and he just kind of like collapsed and she was there to help. She bathed him and like everything because he was just like unable to move. I thought that was really crazy.
Yeah. It's honestly one of my favorite scenes. And I think it shows the best of Bryce and
Yeah.
it shows how deeply he is impacted by all this. And even because he goes into the shower and turns
Hmm.
the heat all the way up until the
Yeah.
water is burning him. The
Yeah.
water and his Malachim blood is healing him, but it's like burning and healing, burning and healing. And so
Mm.
seeing the ways that he pulls away from himself, that he doesn't, instead of staying in his body, he leaves his body because he can't take it.
Yeah. Poor
um
guy. Mm.
I having Hunt as the person that I was analyzing for this, it made my heart hurt for him even more than it already had been. Like I
I
already
know.
but like it just emphasized it for me.
Yeah.
And I think, and this is a part that I don't hear as many people talk about in regards to Hunt, but I think because of this, he has a propensity to lose himself in other people,
Mm.
especially Shahar. And I'm going to be honest, I think even Bryce a little bit. I think this is a thing for him that he's going to have to learn to
Mhm.
kind of cope with or learn
Yeah.
how to do something different. So his former lover Shahar is someone he thinks about all the time. Even centuries later, he's pining for her, for a part of the book, and then eventually, like him and Bryce create a bond, and that kind of shifts things. But on page 539, Bryce or Hunt gives Bryce a little white opal as a gift, which to him is kind of a big deal because. And to her, like he wants to, the white opal represents joy. He wants to give her joy, and he,
Mm.
before being bought by Maiko, never had the opportunity to like give or receive gifts, so it was kind of a big thing for him. And he's thinking about what it would have meant if he had given Shahar this opal. And it says, a small white opal, even for joy, would have been like a grain of sand on a miles-long beach. Shahar would have appreciated the gift, but ultimately let it disappear into a drawer somewhere. And he, so dedicated to their cause, would probably have forgotten about it too. And I know this is a small example, but it was indicative for me of a larger theme, which he talks
Mm.
about across the book of like, I lost myself in Shahar. I was so dedicated to her and to the cause that
Yeah.
I didn't have any sense of myself.
Yeah.
Um, and then on page 556, he says, I would have done anything for her. I did anything for her. Anything she asked. And when it all went to hell, when they told me it was over, I refused to believe it. How could she be gone? It was like saying the sun was gone. It
Mm.
just, there was nothing left if she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that to me, like, there's alarm bells going off in my head when you say
Yeah.
your lover dies and there's nothing left of you.
Yeah, because there's that like unhealthy codependence there where it's like aside from obviously losing someone that you really cared about, that doesn't mean that there's nothing left. You're still there. Like your life has
Mhm.
meaning. So I think it's like finding that own self worth and being able to build healthy attachments is what
Mhm.
you guys would eventually work on.
Yeah, well, and you're reading my mind, girl, because now it's time for Hunt's treatment.
Mm,
Because yes, I agree with you. It doesn't sound like he understands himself outside of another person, a
hmm.
cause, an enslaver. Like
Yeah.
his sense of identity exists in other people and places. And so I would really
Yeah.
want to work with Hunt to structure the kind of life and identity he would like to have, separate from those who enslaved him, and even separate from the meaning and purpose that both Shahar and Bryce gave and give him. It doesn't mean that he can't love Bryce, but I would like to use some of the glimmers of the dreams that he has laid out, to make a fulfilling life that can include loved ones, but where he doesn't get lost in someone else.
Hmm.
And I think there are these little glimmers that we see, and we recognize that behind the other people who have controlled him, he hasn't stopped fighting for these causes that he believes in, for freedom, taking down hierarchies, defying the Asteri. He doesn't really care so much about being lauded or having a lot of power, but he does have these causes that he believes in, and you could see this reflected in some of his content. On page 73, he said, it says he still worked relentlessly toward one thing, freedom, or rather the slim chance of it. On page 484, someone asks him, why have you never stopped fighting? I think it was Bryce who asked him. Because we were right then and we're still right now. Shahar was only the spear point. I followed her blindly into a battle we could never have won, but I believed in what she stood for. So he recognizes there's a separation between the person who is Shahar and the movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Page 487. So living and living well, it's the greatest fuck you that you can ever give them. He means the Asteri. And Bryce says, that's why you're still fighting. And he ran a hand over his tattoo on his brow. Yes. So he recognizes that one, he has a cause that he believes in. He wants to live well.
Hmm.
Um, on page 750 and 751, this is when they're in the command room, um, and it says the angels in the room all knelt on one knee, bowed. No one on the planet had that sort of power. No one had seen it fully unleashed in centuries. Not one of them objected to his command, meaning Hunt's command. He hadn't given a shit that they'd bowed, whatever the fuck that meant. So you could see here, he's like, I don't really have designs for power here. I just want to do what's
That's
right.
right. Yeah.
He also, there's like cute little things that he likes. He loves to cook and he enjoys like the little beauties in life, like
Love
hanging out with
that.
Sierra.
Little
Yeah,
hobbies.
I know. I'm like, hang on to those things. So he says, I taught myself to cook. It's a useful skill for a soldier and makes you popular person in any legion camp. Besides, I've got 2 centuries under my belt. It'd be pathetic not to know how to cook at this point.
Hmm.
624. There he was making her breakfast because he'd come to enjoy knowing that he could take care of her like that.
So cute.
Oh, and then there's this ongoing thing between Bryce and Hunt, which I love, which is like they take pictures. It starts
Oh
when she
yeah.
sees his phone at the very top and she's like, oh, what pictures do you have? And it's all of like crime scenes.
Oh
And
my
she's like,
gosh, yeah.
this is horrible. This is like a years old phone and all you have is like gore on here.
Yeah.
So they make a joke of taking pictures like of different things to fill out his camera roll.
Yeah.
And on
And she takes a little
625,
selfie.
I know I think she does a lot of cute little cutie pics to have
Hmm.
her in his camera roll. Um and he starts taking pictures of lots of different things. So on 625, it says the photos had begun as an ongoing joke, but they'd become real, enjoyable. There were more of the two of them, meaning Hunt and Bryce, and more photos that Hunt had taken too, of the food they'd eaten, interesting graffiti along the alleyways, of clouds and things he normally never bothered to notice, but had suddenly wanted to capture.
I love that.
It's just, and like I'm like, there, that is a glimpse of you. That is a glimpse of
Yeah.
you without anybody else what you care about.
Yeah,
In
it's a
that
form
show.
of expression, and like who knows, he might get a professional camera, he might get into photography.
I
I
would
love
love
that
that.
for him. I love
I
that.
literally, I would honestly, if he were open to it and wanted to do it, I would talk about like, okay, let's take pictures of like what's important to you. Let's take pictures of things that you care about and talk
Mhm.
about what it means to you. Like if pictures help you to process, let's look at pictures
Yeah.
together. So I would love that. And then he wants to build a life with Bryce and he loves her deeply. Again, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little concerned that he's going to do to Bryce what he did with Shahar. Um, but he has several statements that he talks about his relationship with Bryce, how much Bryce means, and also people talk about how much Hunt means to Bryce. So, page 605, I realized all this was the wrong path, but you and me, Bryce, you are where I want to end up with a life with you. You are my fucking path.
You
Then,
know, it's getting to the okay, I only see this person, and it's he has like the blinders on.
yep.
So I can see that
Mm-hmm.
a little
Yep.
concerning.
I'm a little concerned, and I don't think there's anything wrong with you loving Bryce. Like I having a loving relationship is totally fine by me. But let's think about how entwined we want to get. And then on page 752, Fury is talking to Hunt, and she says, Bryce was a ghost for a long while, Hunt. She pretended she wasn't, but she was. You brought her back to life, which
So
I just
cute.
thought was very cute. Um, and then on page 788, he says he'd find some way to survive, some way back to this life with Quinlan he'd barely begun to savor. So, all of that said, we know that he, up to this point, hasn't had a chance to be himself, and he shows a lot of strength and care, a desire to find the beauty in the world and to get behind a cause. And I really want to use trauma informed approaches to help him process what he's been through, and then do some values and strength based stuff to help him connect with how he wants to make meaning and who he wants to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had the opportunity to do a value sort, but I would love to do a value sort with Hunt.
Yeah. Is it where you guys kind of like write down their specific values?
Yeah, it's so the way I do it is you have a long list of values and they're all value words. It's like
Mm,
100 words or something. And you start by circling the ones that you just think are
okay.
important or you connect with. And then you can do different things where like you organize them or you narrow them down to like 5 core values and things like that. So I'd want to do
Okay.
something like that with him.
That's a cute little worksheet type of thing. You may have to send that to me.
Oh, girl, I got the worksheet. I'll send you
Yeah.
the worksheet.
Yeah. Because
It's called My Values.
okay. Yeah, because I touch on values with my clients, and
Mhm.
especially when there are like actions or things that they do or say that don't align with their values after like we kind of talk about what it means to them, especially in like relationships and stuff. So there
Mhm.
are moments that that is where values work comes up. But yeah, I love that worksheet. I love a worksheet.
Oh, you gotta love a worksheet. Gotta
Yeah.
love a little therapeutic worksheet. Well, I'll send it your way because it's I
Yeah.
like it. I use it. Just a lot of times. It'll come into play with identity work, with career work. Like
Mhm.
it's a good one. So,
Yeah.
all of that said, let us take it out into the real world. Let's play with some of this identity stuff. And there's a particular element that I found fascinating in this book. And it has to do with exploring masculinity and identity. One of the greatest tensions in the book is that Bryce is very sensitive to domineering alpha holes or alpha hole behavior, as she calls it. And she really struggles to accept care from Hunt in a way that she doesn't with Danica or Juniper or the other women in her life. Like Danica was very protective of her,
Mm.
and Bryce seemed to welcome that in a certain way. Anytime a man or a male sort of saw that protectiveness, it was something that was unwelcome to her. And she has very good reasons for this. Her
Mm-hmm.
father, the Autumn King, and many, many of the males that she's encountered have belittled or hurt or been misogynistic toward her.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the same time, Hunt challenges her idea of males, causing her to reconsider his role as a man in her life. So, like, trying to figure out how do I accept somebody's masculinity, whatever that means,
Yeah.
and let people protect me and love on me, even if they're male, but not sort of lean into this misogynistic or toxic masculine stuff. And I think he's trying to figure himself out too, but he knows that he can be multifaceted. And I pulled a couple of quotes here. On page 490, it says, Bryce says, I don't need a male telling me when to eat. And then Hunt says, how about a friend telling you that you had an understandably rough night and you get mean as shit when you're hungry?
I like
Like,
how he reframed that.
yeah, he's like, I'm a person who cares about you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like domineer you or tell you what to do. I'm just saying, like, I know you okay by this point, and like,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a long night and you're
Yeah.
gonna have a harder day if you don't eat, because I know
Yeah.
that about you.
I think that's like that defensiveness that she like leans
Mhm.
into, because of course all of the male figures in your life are very, rough and not caring.
Mhm.
And even I'm sure there are actually alpha holes,
Oh,
around. So it's hard to really have the idea that there can be a man who's not that way. So it's kind of like challenging that. And I think that's what, like you said, that's what Hunt is for her.
yes. I agree. I think recognizing that there is a lot of toxic masculine behavior going on in this
Mm-hmm.
book and in the real world.
Yeah.
Um
But it's not
and I think
everyone. It's not every
no,
man.
and I think I mean, so I think it's so many of them that it's okay to be, protecting yourself. I think it
Yeah.
makes sense that women want to protect themselves.
Mhm.
And I think we have to consider, like, how, because masculinity and femininity are a paradigm that aren't bound by like sex. Like, you don't have to have a penis to be masculine. You don't have to have a
Mhm.
vagina or a vulva to be feminine. Femininity and masculinity are sort of these like somewhat socially constructed, but there's ways to be masculine regardless of what your sex or gender is. And
Mhm.
so I think there's a way to be masculine, whatever what we consider to be masculine, in ways that are healthy for relationships and are healthy for friendships and all that stuff. And there's so many examples of toxic masculinity that it makes sense
Yeah.
that women are like,
Guys
I don't know
suck.
about this. Well, yeah, I mean, I run into enough assholes, and it's
Yeah,
like, I,
I get it.
my standard operating procedure is going to be to protect myself from alpha holes, which is what Bryce is doing. She's like, I've run into so
Yeah.
many toxic masculine examples that it's hard to know when I'm encountering a helpful masculine example. And I think that responsibility lies with the people who are masculine. Like, if you are
Mhm.
someone who is a masculine and a man or a male, it is up to you to engage in like helpful, like community based masculinity, and not this toxic, like
Yeah.
hierarchical. So anyway, I could pop off about that, but I do have one more quote on page 537. Um, Bryce and Hunt are talking, and Hunt says, I think cuddling in front of the TV allowed me at least to be able to voice my opinions without getting my head bitten off. And then Bryce says, what do you want exact? Or no, Hunt continues and says, what do you want exactly? A boyfriend or mate or husband who will just sit there with no opinions and agree to everything you say and never dare ask you for anything?
Mm.
Just because I'm a male and I have an opinion doesn't make me some psychotic, domineering prick. Look at Ember, her mom, and your dad. He voices his opinions. He seems pretty damn psychotic when it comes to protecting the both of you. And then in page 772, Bryce is talking with Danica. Um, when she's doing the drop, and Danica's like, wisp of spirit is there. And Bryce
Mm.
says, are you really trying to convince me to make the ascent for a guy? And Danica says, is Hunt Athalar really just some guy to you? And why is it somehow a mark against your strength to admit that there is someone who happens to be male worth returning to? Someone who I know made you feel like things are far from fucked.
I love that moment.
And I think this is the paradigm that Bryce is struggling with. Even with her mom, Ember, the Autumn King was misogynistic and violent toward her mother, and that is scarring to her and her mom. There's been
Hmm.
plenty of examples of males and men doing wrong by Bryce and by the people that Bryce loves. And I think what Danica is asking her to do, and what Hunt's asking her to do, is to say, I know that those examples exist, and this is an example of like masculinity and friendship and connection and love and relationship that is actually might be good for you. So
Yeah.
it's I think it's, if we're taking this to the real world space, it's asking for openness from women, when the world and when lots of men have perpetuated harm. And I think that's a big ask.
It is.
And I think for Bryce specifically, we see an example of, I'm meeting someone who's like, happens to be male and also is so good for me in so many ways, and can I let myself have that in a world where I have so many examples of
Yeah.
males doing bad?
Yeah. I think that
So
was a really important thing to bring up because we deal with that in the real life every
mhm.
day,
Mhm.
as women and just like everywhere,
Yeah. And it's the like, because I have clients who are like, I really want to be in a relationship, but like i I don't know how much trust I want to put, and I'm specifically talking about like put in men, like what trust I want to
Mm,
put in men. um and it's a really powerful conversation to see, like, yeah, the harm that men perpetuate in society and toward women is real, and like
yeah.
that is valid, and we need to feel that. And if you want to have a relationship, we have to find a way of working through that so that we can find a relationship. If who you want to be partnered with is a man, we need to be able to do both, to protect ourselves and recognize the harms while still trying to work for our goals and work toward something that we think will bring us a lot of happiness. So
Yeah.
that is our counselor's couch. Thank you for coming in
Thank
today.
you. It was
Hip
awesome.
hip. So go to therapy. We talk a lot of interesting stuff in therapy, and we highly recommend
Yeah.
it. And that brings us to the red flag court. And in the red flag court, we bring cases of personal and relationship misconduct to the jury of us. And we ask ourselves, is it a red flag, a green flag, or is it somewhere in between? What color is the flag?
We
Uh,
shall find out.
we shall find out.
So, I have one case to present to the court today.
Pip, pip.
In page 604, when Bryce finds out Hunt figured out the truth with Danica and the synth, slash the cause of her death, but chose not to tell Bryce. What do we think of Hunt's lie? Is it a red flag? Can it be justified?
Oh no. Okay. Okay. So, and I always like the image of like Hunt on the dock,
Yeah.
is like indelible. Like she pulls up with Therian and she sees it's him.
Yeah. It's
Oh my
so
god.
traitorous.
Yes. Yes. I think this is red flag behavior. I would be really upset by this if I were
Yeah.
Bryce. I If I'm pulling empathy for Hunt in this scenario, because there's two elements to this. It's the ways that Hunt has lied to Bryce, and then
Mm-hmm.
it is the cause that he believes he is forwarding
Right.
with the Asteri. I believe in a cause where you get rid of hierarchies and enslavement and all of that. That I have no problem with. It was your methodology that I don't care for. One,
Yeah.
that you lied to Bryce and in ways that like directly impact her. And
Yeah.
yeah. And two, you getting involved in synth, and he recognizes it. He's on the dock trying to get them to stop. He's like, this is
Mhm.
not the way. This is not the
Yeah.
way. We fucked up. This is not the way. So I do think it's red flag. I think the cause is good. I think his methods are bad, and he recognizes it even before this moment unfolds. I do like, I will say, how, because when this moment happened the first time I read it, I remember thinking like, oh great, here we go. Now they're gonna be like not together for like
Yeah.
for fucking ever, and we're gonna have to go through this whole thing. And it doesn't turn out to be that way. Like, they make amends in a way that I like better than what I
Yeah.
could have seen unfold.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it just drives an unnecessary wedge. So for that reason,
Yeah.
red flag from the court. What about you?
I also give it a red flag for his lie, about how her friend died. I feel like if he should have,
Mhm.
like, if he was honest about that Danica actually, kind of ended everything and like herself because of the synth, I think that could have helped Bryce with her grieving process. And if there is a way to include her in the mission or like whatever, like that's a separate thing, but at least tell her the truth about her friend. That,
Mhm.
don't just string her along with trying to figure it out. So, red flag.
All right. Well, the court is in cohesion about this one.
It
We
is.
Hunt, you're my client. I love you, but red flag
Yeah.
behavior. So I have two cases for the court. I actually struggled to find cases in this book, so
Yeah,
it was
same.
it felt either to me like way red flag or way green flag. Like I couldn't find. I had a hard time finding kind of like muddy ones.
Yeah.
But I did manage to pull a couple. So, Hunt is being brought back to Pangera by Sandriel. He got caught on the dock with the synth.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, "You're done," and Bryce runs to the comitium to try and buy Hunt with money that she borrowed from Jessica. And then when that doesn't work, she wants to try and trade herself for Hunt. She's like, take me, take me. And Hunt is horrified. He's like, don't do this. But she's like, take me. In the midst of her trying to make this deal, Rune comes in and claims her as a woman of the Fae and says she cannot trade herself as she is owned by Rune and his father. On 642, it says, based on the laws of the Fae as approved by the Asteri, she is my property, my father's, and I do not permit her to trade herself in exchange for Athalar. Bryce says, I'm no property of yours. And he says, you are a Fae female of my bloodline. You are my property and our father's until you marry. Oof.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that's a tough one.
Ooh. Okay, so what do you think about Rune using Fae misogyny here to help keep Bryce safe? Red or green flag?
I think it's orange
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's not like this is something that he was bringing up before. This is something that, was just something that needed to be presented to save her from making like a mistake like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think the sentiment of the whole thing is bad, but it's not like Rune and like her father were actually applying it and being like, you're my property, we're gonna like marry you off and stuff. Like they weren't actively
Mm-hmm.
doing that. So I think this was just used as a tool to help the situation. It's orange, because then she finds
Mm-hmm.
that out and
Mm-hmm.
then that kind of sucks, like not having autonomy there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So you're going orange?
I'm going orange because
Okay.
it's with good intentions, but I think it also still sucks.
Okay, I have a hot take on this one. Like
OMG.
it's hot. I think this is a green flag. I can't believe
Okay.
I can't believe I'm saying this right now. Okay, I do not like the misogyny. I do not
Right.
like it. I I nobody is nobody's property. I don't like it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't approve of it. And we know that Rune doesn't believe this.
Right.
We know that for him it's a maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rune is using his thinking cap here in a way that Bryce is not. Bryce is
Right.
desperate. Bryce is going, just take me in,
Yeah.
take me instead. And she has not made the drop, so she is a human. I mean, she's half Fae, but like
She doesn't
her
have her powers.
no, she is far more breakable than Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Far more like
Yeah.
she's gonna get in there, and it's the odds of her dying from this cruelty are quite robust.
Mm-hmm.
Hunt, for his part, does not deserve this, should not be going, and has lived through this before. And we know that based on precedent, Sandriel probably won't kill him, that she'll probably keep him alive for her own purposes.
Yeah.
So if Bryce uses her thinking cap a little bit, live to fight another day. Be smart. Be smart. You could do much more outside of Sandriel's influence than you can if you're trapped in a dungeon somewhere. Because guess what? Even if you trade yourself for Hunt, Hunt's not going to be free either. It's not like Hunt can come save you. It's not like Rune could come save your ass. I think this is green flag because Rune is using his thinking cap. And I don't know this, but if I were Rune, I'd go in there and I'd be like, yo, we need to recalibrate. We'll go get Hunt. We will fucking get him. But we can't do it like this. I can't have your like non-dropped ass going into Sandriel's dungeon getting killed day 2.
It's
Hunt
true.
will hold out. So I say green flag, but only because I think Rune is playing a game. If I believe that Rune actually thought those things, red flag. Then it would be red as the day is long. So
I can see your justification for green flag, and it makes sense because it's like, like I said, like he wasn't applying that before and he didn't think about it before. So,
but it comforts me knowing that you're saying orange flag. Like I need someone to say it. I'm just because the calculating part of me is like, let's live to fight another day. We'll get Hunt, but like, let's think about this a little bit.
So we're sticking with orange and green.
Yep. We're a little like, if you just put like white in the middle, we're like a little Irish flag. Like,
oh my
gosh, green, a little white in the middle. There we go.
A little Irish team. Okay.
So that is the statement of the quote. And now I have one last case for you in this red flag quote. So as this book unfolds, we figure out that Bryce or Danica was lying to Bryce about quite a lot, or at least obscuring. Like Danica had this whole thing going on that Bryce had no knowledge of. And I think it's hurtful to Bryce to some extent. She's like, why did you not bring me in on any of this? Yeah. And Fury, who is a member of Bryce's friend group from before everything went bad, also badass assassin woman who is like very mysterious. And we're like, where does she go? That. Yeah, where does she go and what does she do? And we don't know. But she's badass. And so Fury and Bryce for much of the book are kind of at odds. Bryce tried to reach out to Fury a lot after Danica's death. Fury did not return the reach outs. There was a little back and forth. And so at one point, Fury, because Bryce is trying to process like all this shit that Danica knew or was doing and didn't tell her. And she's like, why wasn't Danica telling me any of this? Why did no one tell me anything? Because Fury even knew some things that Danica was getting up to and didn't tell Bryce. So it's like everybody fucking knew but Bryce. So Bryce is confronting Fury about that. And Fury basically tells her that Danica was trying to protect Bryce from like other people who would harm her, but also from herself. And she's referring partially to the concerns that Danica had about Bryce getting involved with synth or taking synth, because we know based on how Danica died that when you take synth, it could send you into a rage where you
Yeah.
tear other people apart and then tear yourself apart.
Yeah.
What do you think about Danica keeping so much from Bryce for this like protecting from others and protecting her from herself kind of vibe? Is this a red or a green flag?
I can see, I feel like I'm leaning towards green flag in a way of all of that information Bryce wasn't ready for now or before because she hadn't made the drop. Like she kind of wasn't really with her powers or, so I don't think she was mentally ready for all of that. So I agree with Danica kind of keeping some of those things. I don't know about something being tattooed on me and me not knowing what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a little bit like, okay, at some point, how was that information going to be told to me? But Danica didn't expect to, unalive herself and all of that. So, yeah. And I think it's interesting how, like, Danica. Did it mention like the other peeps would take synth too, or it was just Danica because she would use it?
Danica would use it. I don't remember if the others did. I do think she had a sense that she was going to die at some point, like because she left the tapes once she figured out and got the tapes of other people using synth.
Yeah,
I think Danica knew her days were numbered. I don't know if she knew that she was going to be the
doing
one.
that. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was Micah who killed them all. I think it was like synth was involved, but I think Micah pushed the plot with the synth.
Yeah.
So I think she knew bad things were coming for her, and so she set up like the note in her jacket for Bryce and the
that
thing.
USB.
The USB or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think she expected to die that night. Like I don't think, as you said, I don't think she knew that was going to happen that way.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say green flag because I think all of that information Bryce wasn't ready for. I mean, she needed to just like focus on like her next step with power and doing the drop before getting involved in any like life altering thing like that. So
you know what's interesting? I'm going yellow on this one. I feel like you and I flip-flopped. We were flip-flopping today.
Why yellow?
One, the horn tattoo. You didn't, it's my body, and you didn't tell me. You didn't feel like I was with it enough to know that, and that feels bad. Like, I get wanting to physically protect her because she hadn't made the drop. I think there was a way that Danica could have warned her a little bit and said, hey, I want to let you know there's some stuff that I'm dealing with in the aux or whatever. I'm not able to tell you really any or most of it, but I want you to know, like, I want to bring you in as much as I can bring you in on anything. Just as a way to warn her, as a way to like let her know that something was up. I don't know. I just feel like the amount that Danica left, it crosses into the bounds of like, now you're just being inauthentic with me. Like you have this persona that you play with me. Like you need to put wingies on for me when like we're hanging out, and then you go do all this other shit on the side. Like trust me to handle the like hard stuff too. So it's yellow for me.
I'm gonna give it. I think you convinced me to do yellow because
okay.
It's not totally green, and I was like, I don't know. Yeah, yellow.
So we are applying a yellow flag to this. Be authentic with your friends, y'all. And that is the red flag court.
Thank you for coming into the court today.
Thank you. We go from the counseling room to the court, and now...
Now what's up in the realm? What are we reading? So you and I both are reading House of Sky and Breath.
Yep.
I'm also gonna probably read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I recently read Book Lovers and I loved it. Okay, Queen, we love Emily Henry over here.
Emotional.
She breaks you, but it's a great time. I also borrowed this book from my library when I went last week or so. It's called That Which Feeds Us by Kiala Kendall.
Ooh, oh, I love that cover.
Yeah, it's a Hawaiian Gothic book.
Okay,
so
now I need to...
I saw
Now
it
I
on
need
the
to edit it.
table on my way out, and I was like, wait, this is like a recent release because I've seen it before. So
Okay.
I grabbed her up, and I'm gonna attempt to read her at some point before she's due.
Okay. I'm gonna add this to my, and it's got 4.26 stars, girl.
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh, I
very
like this.
interesting.
Okay.
What
All
about
right.
your realm? What's up and over there?
Oh, of course, House of Sky and Breath. We're
Hmm.
getting into that. And I'm currently on audiobook listening to The Auction by Sadie Kincaid.
Okay.
This is my like mafia smut
Okay.
romance whatever. It's okay. It's okay. I think I have a trouble when there's a lot of like internal droning on dialogue. There's a
Uh,
bit of that going on here. But I will not be deterred because I know that there is smut on the horizon, and I will be patient. I just finished Blackouts by Justin Torres and Death by Laura Thalassa, which was the like fourth horseman of the
How'd you like the death
class.
one?
Um, Pretty good.
Okay.
Again, it had a little bit of the like droning on internal dialogue, but um it ended the way I wanted it to, and there
Okay.
was it was spicy.
Oh,
So I
nice.
did enjoy it. Okay, good.
So that is what is up in our realm. Our
Ooh.
final remarks and social media shout outs. If any of today's topics were triggering or upsetting, please make sure to seek out individualized mental health treatment. And remember that this podcast is for fun based on our opinions, experiences, and shouldn't be used for diagnosing, assessing, or treating mental health conditions. Our next episode, out on June 3rd, will cover House of Sky and Breath. So be on the lookout for that. If you'd like to support us or interact with us, make sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Faye and Fables Pod. You can email us at fayandfablespod@gmail.com. And we have merch, which I'm wearing
Ooh, and it
today.
looks so good.
Thank
It
you. I
looks so
love the
good.
purple.
Yeah.
So go to our link tree on our Instagram to find our Etsy page. These are 100% cotton t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome design.
Yep.
So go ahead and support us. And thanks so much for listening today. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.